Okay, I think we're streaming now. This is going to be a little bit of a discussion about GetComponent and some of the things that I've done for the snake video, but again, you don't have access to the snake game. I'm going to show you some things with whether starting at a new or you being able to follow along with the scripts or the videos that are available from Unity 3d.com/learn/scripting, etc. Okay, that solution, Unity has really cool set of solutions, and they are, again, let's go there. You can find them up here. Learn. Where is this? I guess I have to open this. So there are the top tutorials. Under all the tutorials, just go straight to scripting. Anything that you find here, you can use to your heart's content. Or the documentation when you search something or Stack Exchange. Reading and understanding what happens there, that is fair. However, you're still required to find references and document those references on the code that you create. Okay, on scripting, there's this video here, again, with a British accent, really nice. Go ahead.
I got a little confused when you're like, I still got to find references. This is not considered a reference for it?
This is a reference. Yes, you would have a reference. Like what I'm trying to get you used to is you create something, you went and found information, you grab that link and you just put it right there, whatever information you have for the research that you're conducting. You are conducting research. You're not doing all these things in a vacuum. And I'm wanting you to honor that. Okay? Question?
What's the specific place you want us to put our references?
On the professionalism script activity, there is a blurb that you put at the top of every one of the scripts. You can also do this on, and it's one of the things to add to is references and research. Another place is on Trello. There is a list that has references and research. So you would put that in there as well. Okay?
Any specific formatting, just the link?
Well, however, I am not asking you to do it APA style, but just putting the link in there is kind of lame. So any kind of information, any context and professional description that you can add in there, it's going to be better for your grade, so to speak. Just don't dump it in there and expect me to do cleanup for you. Keep going.
Can we put the link to that entire list of all of the learn if we wanted to, instead of each specific one we used?
No.
If you used it as a whole?
No.
Each specific?
No, because obviously I know that someday you will then know all of Unity.
Okay, I see what you're saying. You want specifics of what we just went over.
Yeah, exactly. You had a question. But I'll wait for you to finish that. Chew. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and definitely food. I'm okay with drinks inside, food outside, please. Go ahead.
With our like references and stuff like that, do we need to put like what we got from it, like what we used? Like if we see something that's like, we give you the link and then we tell you this is GetComponent, or
Yeah.
this is where we learned how to do.
Yeah, anything that's specific is best. So again, I know that I can't teach you all of Unity. I'm cherry picking here. GetComponent seems to be something that most of you are neglecting and not aware of, and you can't really progress with Unity without knowing this. You just can't. So you're in that sense a captive audience, and I'm making you go in there. But you have different solutions, and the solution that you're about to implement may have used some specific things that were interesting to you. Well, what are those things? If we're in a company and you discover something and you are now all of a sudden like bad job security, like, oh, I'm not letting anyone know. It's like, no, let us know. Like, what is the thing that you discovered? Go ahead.
We didn't necessarily need to use the reference to complete one activity. Do we have to include references still?
Generally, you're going to. So yes, if you don't have references,
What do you want us to use if we don't actually use any references to make something? If I had a solid understanding of GetComponent and I had a solid understanding of using arrays,
gotcha.
and I did tic-tac-toe without using references, do I still have to put references?
You know, the answer, truthfully, to that would be no. But if you did any search, any link on Google for how to discover anything, that would be, again, this is one of those moments of vulnerability that you're showcasing how you go about your work versus what work you can do. It's almost like in a math question, you have the result, but the result is 2, you tell the teacher, and the teacher's like, good, how did you get to 2? Like, I just knew it. It's like, yeah, can you write that down on the piece of paper? But I knew it. Great. We're still needing to see the work. So anything that you have, odds are that most people here are going to use some references. If you happen to not need any, good, that's fantastic. Maybe you can then make it a little bit more challenging for yourself where you're finding those environments, so the new ways of solving tic-tac-toe. I already have a couple people that are doing the numbers scramble, and that may be interesting to them. So they at least would find the reference for the number scramble on there. Or that reference would find itself there. It doesn't have to, all references also. I'm glad that you're asking about this, because I'm wanting you to understand that not everything that you research is only about code. This is how I made the code. This is how the code worked. This is the syntax for the code. No. Some things that you discover on how to do something have to do with, well, I was watching this other documentary and it gave me some insight about how to do this thing over here. Like, they're connected, random thoughts sometimes. Those are great sources for everybody else to see how you think and what you thought. So try to find what that is and list it and share it, you know? That's all.
If I remember where I learned something previously, like doing a tutorial, can I link back? Like,
yeah.
I plan on doing like use an iHandler
Yeah.
to use it, and it's like, where did you learn that? Well, I learned that months ago. It wasn't for this class, but I can still throw it into my script to say like, hey, this is where I originally learned it, to give credit to the person that taught to me, even though it's now what I consider common knowledge.
Yeah.
So not necessarily like references on the specific thing, but like on like if I needed to know how to include a source database, so I could use an API and include that in there.
I've even put sometimes, I didn't know how to convert. I wanted to have a library or use a library to convert from string to int, and I forgot about it. And I went on Google and quickly found a resource for it, and I thought, like, you know what? Thank you, whoever wrote it online, for that. Because what am I contributing to the net for people to read off of me? Right now, nothing? Well, then thank you, and what's your name? Or at least, here's the link. Even real quick, grab it and put it there. Now, that's not to be too, super nitpicky about it or too detailed about it, but it's just a matter of fact that sometimes we forget the references that we've learned to trust over time. And it would be, if we wanted to study how many references or how many links are coming from Stack Overflow, or how many people are using just straight up the Unity documentation that's online. If we had a repository or a way of keeping track of that across the scripts or everywhere, we could definitely say company-wide or whatever, make a real good statement of fact. Like, everybody, if you're getting references from outside of these sources, let us know, because we really like these sources. Much like we tell you, go to Linda, because Linda has some really good sources about that. Okay? Now, GetComponent. Good questions overall. I hope that people online got some of the ambient noise, and if I didn't repeat a question, you can contact me later about it. So, GetComponent. Unity works in very specific ways. Unity has a for a component says game object, where every single entry, every single division on a game object, okay, is a component. One of those entries is the transform. Transform is a component for a game object. A game object has a reference or a place or a location in memory that Unity manages. But outside of all that memory jazz, each game object has a transform. That points to the game object, that points to the transform, that points to the game object, or game object when you write it inside of the script as small caps game object dot transform. Okay? This is the same as saying, this here is saying me or this. Not that these are code keywords that you use, but it's basically saying it's coming from me. I'm asking about whose transform? My transform. Okay? So let's say that this part over here from here to here is one game object. And this game object, we're calling it thing1. This is pseudocode, okay? So this is not how it works on code. I'll show you how it's done on code in a bit. And we have another game object that in the hierarchy is called thing2, thing1 and thing2. And this has a transform. Just creating an empty game object creates an object that exists in memory that has a transform, and it's somewhere on the hierarchy. And it's called thing1 and thing2. So if on the code, let's say that this is a script called movement, and this object over here is also has a game component called movement, which would be called movement.cs or movement.cs. Okay? If in movement.cs I want to say move me, and this is again pseudocode. Let's use this for pseudocode. Move me to wherever thing 1 is. Okay? And this is let's say pseudocode for a function. And we have another, they both have the same thing, right? This is a function, and this is another function called move me 1 unit to the right. Okay? Are you with me so far? Basically, this game object has movement script, which means that this other game object, because it's using the same script, has to have the same thing. And actually, it wouldn't be to thing 1. It would be like, here's a variable. A movement says game object reference object. Okay? So we wouldn't move it to thing 1, we move it to reference object, whatever that happened to have been. Same thing here. And we have to have this over here again. Whenever we called this line, we would move it to whatever that game object was. But I have to get the information for where that is. So how do I get that? I basically want to say, what I'm asking for is get for this thing 2 object whatever information is on thing 1's transform. And vice versa, get whatever, wherever that position is for thing 2, where that referent object, which is this transform over here. Okay? Let me describe this in terms of wallets. I have my wallet. You have your wallet. Let's do a magic trick. Give me your money. Right? It's not going to happen. Shucks. You have information for how much money you have in your wallet. And I have information for how much money I have in my wallet. If I wanted to get the information or know how much money you have in your wallet, I would have to have reference to you. And because I have a connection to you, then maybe I can get access to your wallet. Because if I were to call reference to me, I would call it by saying game object, me, this, and my component, which is wallet, and get that money. Right? Depending on what functions your wallet allows me to do, I can say transfer money to me.
I'm a private game object.
If you're a private game object, then I can't have access. Damn it, he's onto this. Who doesn't know the difference between public and private? Here we go. Whose wallet am I going to get, right? If you were a game object that did not have a wallet, and I were to call your game object GetComponent wallet, I would receive a null. Like, no, I don't have a wallet. What are you talking about? I'm a flower. Look at me. I'm pretty, and I don't have a wallet because I'm a flower. And I will be delicious someday if I produce fruit. That you can sell and get that money and put it on your wallet. Because it's a flower, I don't have that component. See what I'm saying? Different objects have different set of components. Odds are that every game object in Unity has a transform component. If you create a script and you attach it to that game object, then you have access to whatever functions or variables that game component has. You had a question over here.
I think you answered it.
Okay. Good. Let's go on the code. Let's make a new. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. Do I want to save? Yes, I do want to save. Okay. All right. We have a project. I'm going to create a new script. And we're going to call it, you like the example of wallet?
Yeah, sure. We're going to name our variables wallet.
Let's say wallet. And the public class component wallet. The reason why I like the idea of a wallet is because generally it's something that does have some public stuff and some private stuff. Public stuff, you generally have an ID. That ID was given, and it's somewhere registered somewhere in public domain space, and you have the amount of money or your credit cards, which is nobody's business, right? So right now we have no game components attached anywhere, and we have no game objects that have that game component attached. So if I were to have, let's say, a cube, here's a little trick. I like doing these tricks. I may repeat these tricks, but I don't like to select, when I want to select the cube, I don't want to select the light and the camera. Do you know this trick? I don't think you know this trick. I know, because you're about to be impressed. Okay? We select these two. We put them on a layer that you're not using. Okay? And that layer here, I can make it invisible, visible, and locked or unlocked. So I lock it and I make it invisible so that whenever I'm trying to select something, I never select those things. Kind of helps when you're moving stuff, a lot of stuff around. But let's keep it visible for now. So see, I can't select it. I can only select the cube. And we have a cube, and I'm going to make a sphere. I also like to design everything on isometric so that I know exactly the distances versus the perspective of things. On perspective is how it's going to be shown. On ISO is just where they are, and they're just projected like an architectural type of drawing, flat. So they both have the box collider, mesh renderer, and all these are game components that we can get access to. Let's say we have on this one, and we're going to look for wallet. There it is. And wallet has nothing. Right now it's just standard. We can delete all of this. But I just want to get, I want to say money. What is money? What type of variable is money?
It's a private or a float.
It's a float.
You have sense?
So now it's a component.
It's money is a variable which is a member variable of the script called wallet. That's how we start to refer to this. Okay? And it's going to start at negative all your debt. No. You're going to start it at 100. Look how kind Kayvon is. He's giving you $100 right now. Now, what's the protection that we have for this variable? Private. Nobody better touch my money. Okay. Anything that has this component is going to have a wallet, and it has a variable called money. And we can also have one. By the way, we can have, this could be cards. And we have more than one, so we make it an array. Okay? And this is very much like what you have on tic-tac-toe, an array. Okay. Now, we also have another game component, a game object, reference, other money, other wallet. Okay. This is set to private, but we're going to make it to public so that we can actually access it. We can make it private serialized if we want to. Go ahead. I'm going to say that each card that I have in an array is going to have a certain amount of money. that it owes. Or so that's why a credit card would be, if you have multiple cards, would be multiple lines of credit, right? And each line of credit is measured by the amount of money that it owes or it has. Okay, so we have a game object. We made it public. We can do it private, serialized. I'm sure that you've already seen that before. And I'm going to say, we're going to have a function called not sending any parameter, but I know that I'm going to get money from other wallet. It's a game object. It's the other game object that I have access to. But now I need to get to information that I know I can access. The thing that I want to get is its money, right? So I have to get its component. To get its component, to get its wallet, it's very simple. Get component. And these are called carrots. Okay? Inside of there, we say, well, what kind of component? It could be a transform. That's a type of component. We're going to get in there the type of component. In this case, the component that we're trying to get is what? A wallet component. Because everybody here has a wallet. Everybody here has that wallet component. If you have to be aware of how you construct your data so that you can get the type of component that you need. So when you're creating your game object, you could be making, oh, this is an NPC. This is a player character. Does an NPC have an input controller? No. So you wouldn't get the NPC's input controller. So when you're trying to test from an NPC, now you know what game components to get or not to get or to avoid. If you have, does an NPC, might it have a health, system? It might. So it might have a game component for health. So you can get its health component. Does it have an attack system? Well, it depends. If it's that flower that's just there, I'm going like, I'm not going to attack you. I'm just a flower. I'm just here being pretty, producing fruit someday. Okay? If it doesn't have any of that, then you don't get that quality of that game component. So this is where you're designing the data, and it starts to become really important how you create that game object and compose it. So we're not going to get a transform because clearly we already know we can do that, but we're going to get its wallet. And this, again, the parentheses are always for functions, meaning the get component is the verb, is the method, is the function that we're going to go get from that other object. So we close that, and now we say, if we wanted to test it, well, let's just close it right there. Now remember, this is just getting the component, but you need to store it somewhere. You need to say, hey, I've just gotten it, but where am I going to put it? And whatever you get here on Unity is references. It's like, I have you on an address list. It's basically like your address book. I have an address that for person number 1, it's linking to yours. So I get your component and I store it under my reference to person number 1. So in this case, I'm going to have a dummy object that is going to capture that. So I can say a wallet, other wallet. Not other wallet, that's the game component. Let's say other game component and I'm just having it so that I can keep a link to it, and I can go here and say other is equal to the other's wallet, the game object, and let's change this here to game object. Game object, get component, and it'll store it here. I can also, I'll get you in a second. I can also make a temporary value and say wallet, temp wallet is equal to get that information, get that game component. Okay? Now we set money to 100. Now I want to go get that. I call transfer money, and I'm going to do it just on an input. And if in dot get key down key code tab. Now I'm going to say money. Actually, you know what? For right here, it's money plus equals whatever I got from here. This transfer money gets that information. Or I can say this, I'm going to do it here.
Yeah, just call transfer money, put everything in.
Yeah, exactly. Money plus equals either temp wallet, either of them, of the two, give me the same information. They're getting references to the same person. Okay? Temp wallet dot money. This is not going to work. I'm sure some of you know why. You raise your hand. Why?
Is there a way to explicitly save a type onto a type that doesn't match it? So say I made a game object as the holding variable, and I get the component that is wallet. Is there a way to save that wallet as a game object rather than another wallet?
I don't think so, because you might want to get its parent component, a parent game object, and then store that in the game object variable. Some game objects let you convert that, and you can say get component as some other thing.
I did try that, but it always gave me
Yeah.
Can't explicitly save onto another type.
Unity and C# are not places for you to start to be the most optimal about your code. So odds are that you're just going to use a lot of memory for these systems. Okay, unless it's WebGL or other more limited version of Unity, destination for Unity, like cell phones or something else, that your memory is not like a huge heap of memory. You just want to duplicate and create these at will. Now, that sounds like I'm telling you it's a bad practice. Yeah, it is for now. Until you learn to optimize for some stuff, just get it done. Just get it to work. Okay? So now what we do here is we call transfer money, which is a function that we have here. I press the button. Let's put a debug log. And we say transferring money. And I really hope that people are not getting that I'm being some capitalistic thing monster here. And I'm going to say money transferred is dot to string okay. Okay. This is not going to work. I know why. Do you know why?
Because the money is private.
Because
It's correct.
yeah.
Because the money is private. And the problem is that I cannot access things that are private unless they've been made public. So what we're doing, a number of things are private here. If you don't list public, then that means that I cannot access that other game components function. If I were to say, let's say that I want to, I know that some of you are going to be like, what? What's going on? Let's say that I want it for that game object to call that game object's function of transfer money. I should have access to it. I would go temp wallet dot transfer money, and it's still not going to, it shows it, but it's not going to let me, it's not going to access it well.
Make the method public.
Exactly. So I have to say this here, make it public, so that anybody that calls me can call that function. They cannot access my money just yet, but they can use it via that exchange. So I can't also get that money because that is set to private. This is where we do properties. Properties are another way of keeping this money we can make it like this. A property is like a function for a variable. And we have a get and a set. And in the get, we say how we're going to get it. Actually, we don't need that colon here. And on the set, how we're going to set it. It's a way of controlling, like, hey, let's say that when I transfer it, I have to convert it to pounds or to euros or to yen or whatever. So the get could be, hey, get it, you know, public money, let's say foreign money. That would be a function. I cannot access money, but I can access foreign money. And the way that we're going to get it is by return money times 1.1 F. We can say conversion rate right here, whatever. And when we set it, we say, you know, this, because it's part of the class, because it's in the same space, I can actually access all my privates. I just can't access somebody else's privates. There's a lot of jokes about that. You can laugh about that. I'm sure that the people who develop all languages were like, well, so I can access or touch my privates, but not somebody else's. And people are like, that's right, you cannot. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. It gets really weird really quick, so don't start investigating. Go investigate all that joke and humor over there. But set, I can say, I can access my money, and my money is going to be equal to value. Value, it just knows what you're setting it, because that way I can go somewhere, like in pseudocode, right? I can say money is equal to temp wallet dot foreign money. It just it treats it like a variable instead of having to do this or something like that, right? But another thing that I can do, because it's public, I can say temp wallet dot foreign money is equal to money. Oh my. Okay? And this is treating value as whatever I pass into it by this method over here. That's what's going on. Now all this is pseudocode, so okay. So now this should be, this is still not able to work, but now we can make it foreign. Okay, should be a little bit closer to working. Now all I have to do is attach this and check to see this one had this one have the component. Who had the component? This one had the component. I don't have another person's wallet to have access to, so I have to maybe get the cube's. So it'll check the cube's wallet, and let's see if we can make it work. wallet get component. Okay, play. No errors. I press tab. Ah, null reference. You guys love that error, huh? Ah, it's the best. Why are we getting that error?
Because the cube doesn't have a wallet.
So you're telling me that I'm getting money from somebody that doesn't even have a wallet?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be useful to me. So let's do this right now. Let's add that component, wallet, and this one's also going to call that money, right? So, and it's going to call it by pressing the same button. So we're going to have two people going back and forth. But this one isn't going to work because I'm just going to say one thing that I'm going to do is if that game object is defined. Because if it isn't, I'm the person going around. Imagine that I had access to your wallets, but you don't have access to my wallet. You don't have access to anything of mine. Very much like a bank, right? Anyway, we're going to say if other game object wallet is equal to null, meaning it's not defined, and we can define it as null just to make sure that we are starting off as empty, meaning if it hasn't been defined just yet, just get out of here. Don't do anything. Go ahead.
Do you ever do the if and then the double tap?
The double.
Type if and then hit double tap. Hit tab twice.
Oh boy, does he not know this?
I do know this.
Oh,
It completes the whole thing.
Man.
Yeah, but you know what?
Builds the whole
Do
thing
you
up.
know? Yeah, I know that one. But do you know that I've started to upgrade that one to using autocompletes on Phrase Express and stuff like that, so that you can just have for loops. Also does that. I know it does that. But then you can have But if you have a particular way that you like to set them up, it just lets you autocomplete them. Yeah, like it.
That's why I was going to have him show it, is because
Double
I'm
tap.
sure.
Okay, but I'm gonna do it anyway, right?
Please, so that we know.
So
Whoa. Close out of here. Wait a second. Okay. There. And it completes the thing. What's up?
Do you actually need the getter insetter variable? It should just work with money because you made the function public.
I know, but making it, no, actually, I should be able to get the function because it gets that component, but I'm wanting to make sure that you know to not be able to access stuff without creating the properties. Creating properties is a good thing for you to have it anyway, okay? Also, later statics would help you work on some other types of ways to set up variables from the get-go.
Is it basically like making a struct out of a variable?
It's, yeah, exactly. It's called a property though, so.
So when you did that if statement with the temp wallet being referenced to null and you get out of the if statement, does that mean that in the console it'll still say null or will it not say null?
It won't, and the console won't say no. There won't be anything. Oh, it won't happen.
Like when you set the if statement saying equals to null and you say return on the console, will it still say null or will it?
You'll see. Nothing.
Okay, good.
Because, and it's only going to be done for the one that has that object defined. The sphere has the cube defined. The cube has wallet, but it doesn't have that defined. Okay? So we can evaluate how much money we have on the wallet here. We can, well, just to show it right now without having to change the code. The wallet has money and has 100, and this one has 210. You see it here on the bottom? That's because it did transfer the money, put it in my account. Now, we have an issue, right? Because this is when the bank errs in your favor, where you're here and you go tab, tab. Oh, keep making that grow, and let's look at the money that the cube has.
No change.
No change, because I didn't deduct that money. So now what we have to do is on that other, when we call the property, if we call transfer money, we get the foreign money, but we say, now we have to set the other wallet to the deduction of what it had, right? So we go foreign money or temp wallet. Foreign money minus equal foreign money. And let's see what happens. We saved it. We go over here, play. We press tab. We check here. Now it's gone to 0. We can continue to press this. It's not going to change anything. And this other, see, it's transferred. It's adding 0. It doesn't change anything, right? Now, if we could make this game object have negative debt, then I'd be acquiring your debt. And that's just like when people sell your loans to other people. They acquire the debt, but then they get the interest that are being... Anyway, this is... I regret using money for an example. Maybe I've made it a little bit more entertaining, but oh my God, is this... My dad is an accountant, and I am not following in his footsteps. I'm just... no way. So, a couple of things have happened here, just to keep it in, to bring it all to front and center. First, we created the component and assigned it to a game object. We created the data that that game object and that game object's component is going to have. It's the money. We've modeled the data in a way that we can access it with the foreign money property or with how we know we're going to use it. By making it private or making it public, we've already given some amount of transferability across components. It's called a variables protection. Okay. Next, we created a function that is able to be used by whatever we give it to. So long as it has access to the other game object's reference, then we can access that other game component. Anything that now has a wallet is able to transfer money so long as it has access to its referent object. We've also corrected a null reference by making sure that we know that we can only do something if we have access to that variable, or to an actual place in the hierarchy or in memory. We test to see if it's null. If it's null, that means it hasn't been defined for that game object. It may have been defined for itself, but for me, I don't know. My Rolodex on contact info has no pointer to anybody. It's like, transfer money from who? From who? I can't do it. So I'm not going to transfer it unless I know who from.
Noticeable performance increase between storing a GetComponent variable and just using GetComponent a lot?
Yes, because creating the function to GetComponent, once I have reference, I don't have to continue to get it. I already have it. It's just a location in memory. Imagine that every time that I get someone's contact info or number, I say, hey, what's your contact info? Hey, what's your contact info? Versus, don't worry about it. I already wrote it right here. It's right here. It's the same thing. Hey, what's your contact info? Hey, what's your contact info? Hey, find game object. Find object. Hey, find. Hey, find. Hey, find. Every time that you start or you go in a for loop or anything like that. Yes. noticeable. Okay? Same thing for transform anything.
Is there a way to get an opponent, an array of components? So say I wanted to find all objects of type, and then get the component of all of those, and then store it.
Oh my! Look at this. Look at that. Look at this.
I know there is, but I was wondering if you can string on the get component to all of those to put them in.
You don't have to. Look, get components,
Oh, okay.
and you get the type, and it tells you all the components that are of that type, and it gives you an array of it, and then you just return it instead of to wallet array.
But that one's assuming that the specific game object I'm using has multiple of that component. What I'm saying is, what if I'm trying to find 20 different game objects, all with one component? So find all objects that have this component.
Yep.
And get the component.
And it'll make an array, and it'll give them to you, and then you can access them. Oh yeah, it's super cool. Now, what else did we do?
Tags don't save in Unity packages, so we're told not to use that anymore.
What?
Tags don't save in Unity packages.
You're being told that in game dev. In this class, you are allowed to use the project that I have has one set of project settings next week. So you're going to have to be acquainted with those tags and use those. And if you're going to add them, you add them because you wouldn't add them until you told me about it. But you're going to use the tags that exist in that project settings. Okay? So I know that you're being told not to do it that way, but you're also not using nav mesh, nor nav points, nor any of that other magic over there. And the reason you're not allowed to do that is because the nature of our project does not require that. Okay? You had a question.
So I think what I was getting at was, so the project that you have has tags that we're going to use.
That you can use, yes.
Is there a way to package the project settings inside of the Unity package?
You transfer the project settings and a person overwrites them, and whatever is in there, it'll add to them. But that's one of those things that maybe over time Unity will address a little bit better, but it's not too much of a preoccupation. Adding a tag is a minor inconvenience in comparison to, and that can be easily tracked. Again, the larger the project, the worse these things are, right? It's a good question, but remember, whatever you're being taught in another class, it's better that you have those questions for the project that you're encountering that you will next week, in the form of the project next week. So these are natural questions that you will ask as you get acquainted with the projects that you start working for. Okay? Every project has a set of constraints, limits. Every project is different. I think the only people that are benefiting from reusing code are Nintendo and other companies that use ROMs, because it's the actual compiled code that they're just reusing exactly as is. Because if Nintendo were to do, and they did, and it's different. You know Mario Maker? You can play with the original quote unquote. George Carlin's not going to like me very much, but whatever. The original, so to speak, code for Super Mario Brothers. But if you've played Mario Maker, you know that there are some subtle differences, very subtle, on how jump works or etc. Meaning that even when Nintendo was trying to do duplicate code, it didn't work the same way. There is never that. It's like making a duplicate painting. The only way to make a duplicate painting, and I don't even know how to do that, is with a camera. Control C, Control V. Yeah. No, if you had the Mona Lisa and you were to take a picture, even if you took a picture again with the same camera in the same place, not going to be the same photons, because the light that is bouncing off of that is going to hit there is going to be subtly different. To control for it to be exactly the same, you have to close it in a basement and make sure it's the one source and it's laser So it's parallel light. There's no way you can duplicate. So duplicate code is never going to be the same way. No projects are going to be ever the same, even made from the same company with the same goals. So therefore, you have to create a set of questions, a set of approaches that are going to let you investigate how you're going to set up your coding environment, or not even coding environment, just your production environment. Okay, 2 people, you and you a month from now, are 2 significantly different people. If you were to start the same 2 clones of you in Star Trek, like the teleporter duplicated you twice, and there's a Star Trek Next Generation episode about that, were to do different things, you go on Trello, you start breaking tic-tac-toe, you're not going to use the same language. So, start developing similar practices so that the answers as they vary are okay for your approach. Last question.
So I see how you did that there for the debug.log. It's okay that, would you suggest having it before the call like that or after?
It's a good question. I wrote it like that so that you could know if you were to evaluate the money that you're getting, you wouldn't have a place to be checking for that money. If you transfer the money and then didn't check for how much money was transferred so that you could see if the money was brought down to 0, then you have an issue. Anyway, if you have any questions about GetComponent, how to set that up, you should be already exploring this to a degree for tic-tac-toe. It's the same thing, it's just ints. You're checking to see if another game component has a thing turned on or whatever. GetChildren works in a similar way. So you're just getting the game objects for GetChildren. Make sure you contact me via Discord. I'm going to be posting this tonight, and I want to make sure that you know that I do not work whatsoever on Sunday. So I'm depending on how it works this time, I may extend future classes to all deliverables happen on Monday. But I want to see how as usual, how you stick to these rules, or how, if you're listening to how I want communication to happen. Odds are that I may answer some stuff on Saturday, but I really don't want any questions that you write anywhere. You can have them, bring them on Monday, share them on Monday. On Sunday, I don't work. If you're working, doesn't mean I'm going to work. So please, let's observe that. If you have any particular day that you observe, let me know so that I can try to be respectful about that. Okay? So try to have all the questions that you have. Today's Wednesday. This video could have been seen on Sunday, any day of the week. Odds are that there's a due date coming up in a week for person watching this on the online. So please contact me during office hours. They're everywhere, and you can call me. You can preferably Discord or whatever is most immediate. But I'm willing to answer whatever questions, so long as I'm not doing your work for you, okay? So guiding questions, guiding things, examples of good or bad broken code will work very well. Anyway, have 1 hour lunch and continue to work on your project.